This is Rob Tubbott for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined by light heavyweight prospect, contender, star of the future, Charlie Duffield. We're here in Loughborough ahead of your fight with Dan Aziz on the Dillian Whyte Oscar Rivas undercard. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. First time we've done this. Always a good sign when people ask me how I am. Not a lot of people do, not a lot of people care, which is completely up to them. Yeah, so we're down here in Loughborough. I've had the privilege to watch you guys suffering on the rowing machine. How's camp been?
Yeah, it's been very hard, but I'm learning like so much being around Dillian, who's the champ in my eyes, and with Mark Tibbs. Yeah, I'm just learning every day, getting better and better. So it's gone really well.
What's the biggest difference about coming here? I mean, I've spoken to Dillian. Dillian's somebody who based himself in Brixton and Miguel's for an awful long time. Now he's up sticks and moved to here. Bit of a different vibe from your Miguel's or your Peacock's gym. What's the biggest difference about working here?
I suppose the biggest difference working here is obviously the main thing is being around Dillian. He's got such a positive attitude around boxing, just improving day in, day out, and he's got good structure here. He's got his ways set out, what he's doing, different days. They always change it and stuff like that to throw him, so he don't always come in and think, right, I'm doing, like I said, rower, we're doing 1,000 metre row, whatever. They'll throw it and change it, doing sprints, this, that and the other. But yeah, he's got his ways set out, and it's really good, and it seems to be working immense for Dillian and myself. I've come on so much, so yeah, it's just I'm grateful to be here.
Now, Dillian referred to you in our interview that we've just done as one of my guys. Explain to me how that came about. How did you become one of Dillian's guys?
I've known Dillian for a while now, and obviously he's been in the same camp with Mark Tibbs, and I've done numerous rounds sparring with him. It's good for him and it's good for me. I learn massively from Dillian because obviously he's such a good fighter, and he knows all the little tricks of the trade in boxing, and so you pick up a lot from that, and I suppose I'm good for him because I'm a light heavyweight, I'm strong, but I'm fast, so when he gets in with these big heavyweights, they're nowhere near as fast as me, so it's good for him to get moving more and stuff like that. So yeah, I've done loads of rounds with Dillian, but we seem to, since I've been down here training, I seem to bond really well with him. He's like my big brother, so I've got nothing but respect for Dillian. He's helped me massively.
Now, we've mentioned the fact that you're going to be fighting on the Whyte Rivas undercard. It's a card that's full of interesting fights, really, from the heavyweights all the way down. Your fight with Dan Aziz, for fans who maybe aren't as familiar with yourself and Dan Aziz, that's a great fight. Explain to me, well, talk to me first about how that fight came to pass. How did that fight get made?
Andre Sterling had the Southern Area title, and Dan Aziz wanted to challenge him for it, and he was pushing on in his career, and he was going for the British title eliminator. He just fell short against Craig Richards recently, so he gave the Southern Area title up. Dan Aziz, I think a few people turned him down, and then it come to me, and I was like, let's do this. Like, you want to improve, you want to be a champion, you've got to fight these up and coming brilliant good fighters. So yeah, so I took it at the drop of a hat, and at first we thought I was over the moon. When it got announced, I was over the moon just to be fighting for the Southern Area title against a top opponent, and now it's on my big brother Dillian Whyte's undercard. Like, can't ask for anything better, really. So it's like a dream come true.
Now, Dan is somebody who's based at Peacock's gym as well. How much do you know of him? Have you shared the ring with him? Have you watched him from afar? How well do you know Dan Aziz?
I know him very well. He trains with my old amateur trainer, Brian O'Shaughnessy. Got a lot of respect for the man. Helped me out massively in the amateurs, and he was like a second dad along the line as I was growing up. He's a lovely, lovely man. But Dan Aziz trains with him, so I've never shared the ring sparring with him. We was meant to a few times, but it just never come about. I don't know why. He sparred a lot of opponents I've sparred, Andre Sterling and stuff like that. But yeah, I've never actually shared the ring sparring with him, so it's I suppose it's a good thing now because he don't know what to expect, nor do I. I don't know what to expect, so it's a good thing now we're fighting. And yeah, I know him really well. He's a top bloke, a lovely geezer, down to earth, but it's just business. We both want titles, so we both want to push on with our career. And like I say, you got sometimes the best out there have got to fight the best to push on, or to step up another level. And this is that time, come July the 20th.
Good time to be a light heavyweight in Britain. You've got, I mean, Callum Johnson's boxed for the world title. You're Anthony Yard sitting in kind of the mandatory position. Joshua Buatsi, the British champion. Outside of yourself, of course, who would you say is the #1 light heavyweight in Britain currently?
Like you just said, there's a few names you just mentioned there. Anthony Yard, I don't really know because I don't think he's ever been tested properly. Callum Johnson, very good fighter. You even got the likes of Jose Burton, who's up there. He's a very tall, rangy fighter, very good. Joshua Buatsi, great fighter. Gets his opponents hurt and gets them out of there. And he's a lovely man. I've spoken to him a few times out the ring. He's a genuine, down-to-earth person. But you get in the ring, like I say, it's business. You've got to go and take your opponent out and destroy it. That's what us fighters have got to do on the night. So there's a few out there. #1, it's a pick of a bunch, to be fair. Craig Richards is right up there, just beat Andre Sterling, 2 top opponents, close fight. It's a pick of a few, to be fair. But like I say, I'm concentrating on Dan Aziz July the 20th, and then take things step by step. I want to be pushing up and fighting the best. That's what I'm in the game for. So you want to fight the best. So these fights can be made along the line, definitely.
A little bit of fence sitting there, but we'll let you off because you're fighting in a couple of weeks. That's fine. What was the reaction like from your friends and family when they found out you're going to be boxing on a pay-per-view show?
Yeah, that was over the moon. My dad's my #1 fan. He's the one who got me into boxing. So it's a good feeling for him and that. And like I say, I've had my ups and downs in boxing. I've been through bad patches, come out the other side and stuff like that. Linked up with Mark Tibbs, best trainer in the country in my eyes. If not, he's up there with the best. Got Jimmy Tibbs' dad in the corner, the legend. Only has to say 2 words and you're like, wow, that's it. But and then I've got the likes of training with Dillian Whyte and stuff like that. It's like my big brother and just pushing me to my limits. And I suppose we bounce off each other, we push each other, and it's really good. And then you've got John Harding, you've got Richard Rapport. We're all together, we're training hard. The only one we ain't got down here is Harvey Horn. He ain't got a fight date yet. I think he's one to be announced very soon, so he would be here as well. So yeah, so it's we're like a big family. As much as we train hard, and yeah, it's brutal. Some days you come and you're like, oh, I can't be feeling this. But you've got to push through them pain barriers, and that's what makes you become a champion. So yeah, it's really good. I'm enjoying every single day being around Dillian, and that it's pushing me to my limits.
You kind of mentioned the ups and downs of being a fighter. Everybody's story is different. Everybody has ups and downs in the story. What's been your most difficult period of your career?
I've had, like I say, I've had my good points, my bad points, but I suffered myself from a bad gambling addiction, and no one really knew how bad it was until I opened up and I come out. But so it was like I was fighting a demon inside me, but I didn't know how to control or didn't know how to beat this demon. But eventually I did beat the demon, and then obviously I had my brother, which I was suffering myself, and I was trying to help him along the line. And it takes a strong person, mentally, physically, you name it, to go through something yourself where you thought about bad thoughts and still try and help your brother who's suffering from a different sort of depression and drink and drugs and stuff like that. So it was a difficult time, and it proved in the ring in 2015 when I lost, because not everyone knew that wasn't me in the ring. Like I say, like everyone was like, wow, like my close fans and people that don't really know me and maybe thought, oh, he just lost on the night, but everyone who was close to me knew that wasn't me in the ring that night, and something was the matter. And it didn't come out to a while because I didn't want to. I'm not that sort of person that wants to rely on a sob story and stuff like that, because that's not me. I'm a strong person deep down inside, but back then what I was going through, I wasn't strong, and I didn't know how to fight this addiction and stuff like that. But I got through it with my wife, who pushed me all the way, and like I say, I owe everything to her. Without her, I actually don't even know if I would be here. So my wife is my rock, and she's kept me strong, and my beautiful family and that. So come July the 20th, it's going to show that the strength in me is going to come out in the ring. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready.
Now, I don't want to sort of not force you. I don't want to go back over what I'm sure are very difficult memories. But I mentioned to you off camera, I'd read an excellent piece done by Martin Theobald from New Age Boxing. Shout out Martin Theobald, well done. About there are a few, Paul Zanon as well. But explain to me, if you can, just how difficult things got with your own issues and obviously with your brother as well.
Yeah, it got very difficult. Like I say, I'm not the person to go and say, oh, I thought about taking my life. There's a lot of people out there that go, they can just throw that out there and say, oh, I thought about taking my life. But genuinely, truthfully, 100%, I thought about taking my life. For a strong person in the ring, I was strong. I've got bundles of strength, and I'm a fighting man. But back then, what I was going through was so hard, I thought to myself, if I end it, maybe I just put everything to bed. But then when I actually come through it, and with the help of my wife, like I say, my beautiful wife, who's helped me through abundant, like she's been everything for me. Without her, like I probably wouldn't have got through it. So I owe everything to her. I'm grateful to her, and to my beautiful. I got two beautiful little girls who I look after now. Like, I was going through such a bad stage. Even when Lillian was born, she was only a few months old. I was still having bad thoughts. So I'm glad I had only a few months old to get me through that hard times. Because even with my wife supporting me and behind me, she didn't know how bad I was. Maybe that still might not have been enough, but the baby was just that little bit of extra, that icing on the cake that helped me get through a horrible time, and it was bad, yeah, very bad.
Boxing is often described as a lonely sport. I know that you have, I mean, well, we've seen today, you have like the camaraderie and people around you. Ultimately, when you go in there, whether it's sparring or on fight night, you're by yourself. When you're having such dark issues and such problems outside the ring, does boxing help? Does boxing make it worse? What's that like?
Yeah, boxing, I always tell people now, because I'm doing quite a bit with mental health and stuff like that, so I always tell people now, training and boxing is like, it's like the cure to your demons, to your addictions, to your whatever addiction and thingy you're suffering. Boxing is the cure, because every time I used to train, especially being around Mark, because he's such a positive person as well. Mark got me through the hard times, because I was thinking about, after my fight and stuff, I was like, I don't want to box no more. I wasn't even training properly. If I look into it now, I wasn't training properly for the first 4 fights. When I won the first 3 by knockout and I lost the 4th for a bad time, but I wasn't training like I'm training now. Now I'm training as a career. Back then I was training as just like it was a hobby. Oh, it's a stroll in the park, I take the dog for a walk. It's not. Boxing is a brutal sport, and no one sees behind closed doors what we put our body through. It's unbelievable, the pain barriers we push through. And like I say, I hold my hand up to every boxer and every amateur, young boy, man, woman that gets in that ring, because it takes a lot of courage and guts. And yeah, so boxing is definitely like the cure to anything you're suffering. Because I've got a few people I train now, and that one of them was suffering from similar sort of thing, addiction, but not as bad as what I was. And one was suffering from, he was going through a hard time, his missus divorce and stuff like that. And me training them, they come, so I could show you some of the texts, and it puts a tear in my eye, and I'm like, wow, like just what I've done for them people, just helping, and that little 5-minute phone call that I had with them, it makes so much of a difference. And boxing, it's a massive thing. If someone out there is really suffering, get down the gym, get training, get with someone positive who thinks they're really positive, they ain't got nothing negative to say, and they will change your life. They will really turn your life around, because it happened to me, like linking up with Mark as well, and he's such a positive person, and I was like, now I'm loving the sport. Back then I was sort of falling away from it, I wasn't training properly. Now I'm really, really loving the sport, and yeah, so boxing is definitely the cure from all your demons and weaknesses, whatever you got going on.
I think that's very well said, and it can often be the case where, I mean, boxing is kind of a story as old as the sport, really, of people, you know, helping their problems or solving their problems with boxing. So I think it's very well said. What's it like? I'm always fascinated. I mean, you say you've got 2 little girls. I've got 1. Well done having 2. It's not easy having 1. How is it balancing parenthood and being a fighter? Because being a fighter is so all-encompassing, and it has to be everything about you, that I could only imagine how difficult that is having 1 kid, let alone 2. What's that like, balancing the family life and boxing life?
Yeah, definitely. I tell you something now, it gives you much more of a drive to succeed, because it's like, right, I get in that ring on July the 20th. My opponent, I've got a lot of respect for him. Getting in that ring, there's no respect. It goes out the window. I want to destroy whoever's in front of me. It's like you're taking food from my baby's mouth. So that's the mindset I've got. I'm going in there. I know I'm fighting and stuff like that, but the mindset I've got to push on, and I've got to destroy the person in front of me, which sounds horrible in a way if you look at it like that, but it's true. This is a brutal sport. We've got to get in there and do the best we can, and to push on, and so I can feed my family and put food on the table and set their life, because it's not about me no more. It's about my little girls. When they grow up, we know how dear it is to live these days in the houses, how much they are and stuff like that. So I want to set their future up and stuff like that. So it's very hard. Like me being away here, like my little girl's 7 weeks old. So I've been down here a month training solid, and she was only 3 weeks old. It's very hard, and sometimes good job we got a FaceTime and stuff, because it'd be even harder. But it is hard, and sometimes I think, do you know what? I've got to push through this and stuff like that, because this is what will make you a champion. You being away from your family and not being able to see them, you've got to put everything in that ring on July the 20th, because you've missed out on that month with your newborn baby and your 2.5-year-old who wants daddy wants to go park and stuff. So it is hard. It is very, very hard, and I'm not going to lie, but it's definitely worth it, and it will be worth it.
Okay, well, Charlie Duffield, this has been fascinating. Thanks very much for your time. Just like to say, I mean, being familiar somewhat with your story and sat down and done this, regardless of the outcome on July the 20th, I think it's safe to say that certainly from where you were then to where you are now, you're already a winner. But I'm not fickle enough to think that fighters won't be like, yeah, but I've actually got to win July 20th first, so I understand that. I wish you the best of luck against Dan Aziz on the Whyte Revass undercard. Charlie Duffield, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
I appreciate it, and yeah, thanks for your time as well.